Brigadier General Jeff, Jeff Jones, Jones, Deputy Adjutant General for South Carolina.
Perfect. And General Jones, talk to me about sort of where we are in terms of the storm moving out of the state. What are we looking at right now in terms of emergency response?
Sure. As you know, the storm continues to impact the coastline of South Carolina and both parts of the state. And while we won't know the full effect for several hours, the South Carolina National Guard, along with our South Carolina State Guard, is prepared and pre-positioned to conduct response and recovery operations.
So that eye wall is still, not too far offshore in some areas, but it is moving north toward North Carolina. So do we feel like maybe the brunt of it in terms of, the full force and the full mass is through and past us?
This is still a dangerous storm, and until the tail end of it clears the state of South Carolina, all South Carolinians need to be mindful of it and stay safe.
Great. During the presser and earlier they talked about how, and you actually just alluded to how crews are ready to mobilize and move out. So what does that entail in terms of personnel with the response?
So as we have 1,600 National Guardsmen and South Carolina State Guardsmen who are on duty right now, prepared to perform recovery and response operations. Life support and search and rescue, those type of missions remain our priority. Support to law enforcement is also a priority during this time, as we do our best to ensure that people's property is protected. Traffic control support is important. Engineer debris removal and engineer assessment will also be a critical piece as we enter the recovery phase.
Great. One of the more encouraging statistics was, as of this afternoon when we had the press conference, Public Safety said no casualties related to the storm. You mentioned search and rescue. I guess I don't want to ask you, could those numbers change, but, is that part of it, going and making sure that every person is accounted for?
Our search and rescue assets are postured forward, working for our civilian authorities, ready to respond for any requests for help.
Great. So do you anticipate, who's going to make that final call? When would that final call be? Are you anticipating maybe sometime tomorrow afternoon when crews go back in?
In every military support operation, we work for the civilian authorities. We'll continue to be on station, responding, working for them until that time comes that they tell us their support is no longer needed.
Understood. So right now, I know that we talked to General McCarty earlier, and he said a lot of folks are hanging back in shelters, being on standby, like you said, for the signal. Is that still the case right now, or are they still being held back in those shelters waiting for the right moment to go in?
Absolutely. And once we fully understand all effects of the storm, we'll be ready to deploy and respond under the direction of local and state officials that we work for.
Is there anything specifically with, the aftermath that we are looking at, as a major factor, whether it's high waters, whether it's, downed trees and whatnot because of winds, is there any one specific thing that's a big factor?
High water, moving water, and any standing water is of primary concern. Outside of that, hazards and specifically down power lines, those type of things that really present the greatest risk to South Carolinians is something that we watch closely.
Obviously, some counties have had their evacuation orders lifted. What is the message as, some people try and maybe jump the gun early and try and get back too soon? Could that be dangerous?
The message is follow the lead of your counties. They are best attuned to what is in your best interest, so follow their directives, follow their orders. They're going to make sure that you're provided with the safest environment to return to your homes.
Great. What else haven't I hit on that you want to put out there and make sure that we get across to the viewers?
In times like this, we're reminded that there is no greater honor than to be of service to the citizens of South Carolina and to our country. And I will close by saying that our thoughts and prayers go out to those South Carolinians, Americans, and those in the Bahamas that have experienced loss as a result of this hurricane. And we thank you for what you do to bring this to the public's attention.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Last question from me. The storm is trending northward, so all eyes are sort of, turning towards a little bit further up. In terms of response in other areas of the Carolinas, do you all play any sort of a role in that, or are you going to be mostly confined here?
We are on in communication. We actually have a liaison with our surrounding states. We are on standby to support them to whatever affected areas there is based on whatever their needs are.